Hey guys, this is Faster U4 brought to you by Fitland, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa and Capital Cycles. If you're a cyclist, you want to go faster? Then let's giddy up.
Yeah, get it on. Welcome back to Faster U4 brought to you by Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa and Capital Cycles. So, getting it on yesterday. First race of the season, about one of them, and one of the sort of first ones I actually wanted to do okay in, which is the Wellington Masters Cycling Club season opener, 18-kilometre time trial, Liverton Road in Lower Hutt. I thought I'd have a look at how it went, some stuff I learned, and I've made a couple of changes lately and tested some TT Aero stuff, and I've got some data here I think you might find a little bit interesting about giant improvements in Aero. So, and I'm not kidding when I say giant, this is pretty good, so stay tuned. So we'll talk about that. Thank you, that picture I had up, if you're looking at the screen, wherever it is, from my rider Jason Gestro on one of the rollers coming on the southbound leg of the course yesterday. A very cold day out in Lower Hutt. Warmed up quick enough. And I'll get you to, if you are looking at the picture, just pay attention to one thing, or two things. First, new helmet. That's a Giro Aero head. Shorter tail. Newer sort of style than the Giro Selector that I had and have now sold. I think this is a better helmet for my riding style. And also, second thing, the bar setup. Now, the extensions I've got, I was riding yesterday, are just within UCI legal rules, meaning 10 centimetres maximum elevation from the bar pad, elbow pad, to the top of the topmost, whatever it is, the shifter or the end of the bar extension, 10 centimetres vertical. Now, bear that in mind, because I've done some testing with something wildly UCI non-legal, and it's pretty awesome. Alright, so let's have a look at data for yesterday. We had the Masters Cycling Club 18-kilometre time trial, 3 laps of the Liverton, the slightly longer Liverton circuit now. There was some roadworks about a year ago. Adding, probably somewhere between 20 to 30 seconds per lap, unfortunately. We had a total ride time of 25 minutes, 23 seconds or so, or 25 minutes and 17 seconds moving time, which was okay. The conditions on this course yesterday were a slight northerly breeze, and this course is faster with a slight southerly, quite a lot faster, just because of how the road is. So that wasn't great for fast times, but it was okay. It wasn't bad, and it certainly wasn't really windy. So I had average speed there of just, it says 43 k an hour. It's just under 43 k an hour, 42.8 or 42.9 or something, which was good. Put out an average power for the whole thing of 324 watts, a normalized power of 332. It's a more realistic power. You know, in a time trial there's not a lot of difference between the two, because the power delivery is pretty smooth, or should be. Which was okay. It's not as high as I wanted it, but I'm not really used to riding in the TT position because I haven't really put any watts down in anger in that position. I'll talk about that in a minute. Heart rate of 142. Actually, ignore that because the heart rate's all screwed up. If you're looking at the screen, I think it was so cold. The temperature was, let's have a look, the temperature down to 6 degrees in places, that I think, it wasn't enough sweat or something on it, so that the contact wasn't that great on the heart rate monitor. Just doesn't happen that often. So that was a pretty good performance. It's just the same thing you're always looking at. And of course, like this is don't start too hard. You want to be up to speed, so I want to be up to a target speed of say about 43k an hour within about 20 to 30 seconds, and in position, putting out consistent watts. And you can see I got to that point after about, well, after the start of about 20, this is about 52 seconds, or there's a corner, and then you've got to go around before you get up to speed. So it was about 30, maybe 40 seconds, so not perfect. I can improve on that. And power is pretty consistent across the board. Really, on the southbound leg, it doesn't look that consistent because it's got some rollers, but on the part going north, it was pretty good. So that was okay. So let's have a quick look at the results, and we'll just do a little bit of discussion about what I kind of learned thanks to London Master Cycling Club, Sue Gregory, Simon Brody, Hugh Buke, Darren Calder, Chris Sutherland, putting on a great event. I won in a time of recorded time of 25:17, about the same as what my Garmin said. Tosh Robinson was about 50 seconds down in 26:07. Matt Seeley and Angus Taylor tying it up for third, both on 26:50. Look at this ride from Mike Gregory. One of my riders, he's got faster very quickly, testing him this week. And I'm hoping that the effort he's been putting in over the last while is paying off. An excellent ride, 27:03. You know that when you're behind a guy like Angus Taylor by only a handful of seconds, you are shifting along, and especially when you're beating a guy like Steve Orchard, who was in 5th or 6th, 27:21. You know you're shifting down the road to that. It was a good effort, so congratulations, guys. Proud of that. So, so two new things I mentioned was the helmet before. Now, it's the same old thing, when you Google, aerodynamics data from this stuff. Well, it's a newer product from a big manufacturer. They're always going to claim that it's, marginally more aerodynamic than the one that came before, the Giro Selector, and you don't really know how accurate that is. One thing I'll say is sometimes there's other considerations. When the data's pretty marginal like that, like think about stuff like, here's a weird one, sometimes in a really long TT, like the Rua 50, I want to put a camelback under my skin suit, and the longer tail on the Giro Selector kind of bumped into it, on the hump on the back, and it was really annoying, and it meant I had to keep my head down. It's really uncomfortable position. Well, the shorter tail on the Aero head, again, if I look at the picture, you probably know what they look like. It's a really different design. The tail doesn't stick back nearly as far. There's no adjustable tail like the Selector, it just is what it is. And it's very comfortable. The vision is better than the Selector, I'll say that. So I can't really comment on the Aero in my data. All things being equal doesn't really indicate very clearly whether it's wildly more aerodynamic or not. I'd rate it actually because those reasons I mentioned, but one downside of that helmet is that it's got this, the visor is actually held on with magnets, and it's just not, it's fine, it's secure enough in the race and everything, it's just that, you can knock it off, and it can kind of be a pain to put back on, and your visor falls on the ground and gets scratched or something. But no, overall, really, really happy with that. So the thing I did do, so I've got my bars yesterday set up, full UCI legal position. So have a look if you are looking at the screen. Let's see if I can find a picture for you. I tried something new. Now you'll all be familiar, here it is, you'll all be familiar with this, the notion of the praying mantis position. If you're not, Google something like Floyd Landis, 2006 Tour de France, praying mantis position or something like that. The whole idea is that you have your hands everything is kind of the same, but the bar extensions are at a much higher and longer angle. So you can imagine if you're not looking at the screen, hands come up much more in front of your face, kind of. This is a position where in non-UCI legal races, everyone is doing this. So I did this move where I flipped around the bars I had. So to get that kind of rise, no one makes bars like that. So the hot move, if you look at some of the best aerodynamics guys in England, like Heavier Disley, there's this move where you get your bars and a bend in the bar, like a USC bar like I've got is good. You flip it backwards. So the bit where your hands normally hold on to it, the top is clamped in the handlebar. So you effectively, of course, you've got the same degree angle ski bend. Flipping it backwards doesn't change that, but of course it's much longer at that end, so it goes up higher. And if you're looking at the picture, hopefully what is my terrible description will become a little bit clearer. So the difference really, so two things. That's not UCI legal, by the way. The tips of the bars are probably double the UCI limit there. So if you're doing any national championship races or anything like this, it'll be totally out of bounds. And I sort of had this thought in my mind, which is, well, I don't know, what about club racing? Like, okay, these are not UCI validated events, but I don't know, is it okay to turn up with this? Or is this equivalent of turning up with a motor in your bike? And they're saying, well, it's not a UCI race, so there's no rules about motors. I don't know. And so you might say, well, okay, it's a little bit different to a motor, Steve, because it's just a hand position. How much difference can this make? Well, let me tell you. I've tested it, and I'll tell you, I haven't got a lot of data, but I've got some good data. The idea, by the way, in case you haven't guessed, is that by having your hands together and up very high in front of your face like that, is it directs the air much more efficiently around your thighs and your torso. I don't know what all the aerodynamics properties are involved in that. For instance, does it form a higher pressure pocket of air in that chest area, directing the air better? I don't know. And all this stuff sounds wildly sort of, you know, it'd be understandable if you had this sort of quite a level of skepticism around this. But what does it matter? Well, let me show you. So let's escape out here. So here is in cycling analytics the test I did the other day. Is that it? No, that's not it. It was on the 3rd of, it's going away. Okay, it was Strava. Here it is. This was done on the 3rd of August, so a couple of weeks ago. Went out exactly the same course. Well, I did the northbound leg, and then I did a different leg coming back. We'll just talk about the northbound leg. Identical conditions. I know there's no such thing as identical conditions. The wind speeds might have been a little bit different. So what I did, in short, was an out and back version of yesterday's course. A different course, but half of the course is exactly the same. The northbound leg and southbound leg I use is different. I use the main road instead of Liverton Road because it's better for collecting this data. This was using the new helmet for one, which I've determined isn't that much of a change, but the new hand position, and it's better. So we look at here, this is I know this isn't a lot of data, it's only one run each way, but it was good clean data, basically no wind, and I've validated it using the aerodynamics tool and Golden Cheetah, which I'll show you in a minute as well. So just to the data, the outbound leg, you can see here in cycling analytics, you've got the speed curve, that's the green. I'll just take it this data here, a nice chunk of good data. You can see where I get up to speed from the acceleration, where I hit my, standard velocity for that power along this section of road, which is about 2.5 minutes. Very consistent power output, about 333 watts. About what I'd sort of expect to put out in a race, in a, medium distance TT. We've got an average speed there, 42.2. I know that doesn't tell you anything in itself. Okay, compared to the return leg, again, this is on a smoother section of road, just a bit of a collection of data. Let's look at where I hit speed and maintain speed, a very nice, consistent speed there, 346 watts, 57.3 k per hour. So if you combine the average speed of the out and return leg, it was about 48 to 49 k an hour, being conservative. It's closer to 49. All right, so that's with the new hands. Old hands, yesterday, and we'll just look at the northbound leg, identical conditions, about 2 to 3 kilometers an hour slower on average, went up to speed. Actually, I'll just take this section of data here, it's a little cleaner. 350 watts through 1.7, so a minimum of 1, maybe 2 kilometers an hour slower on the northbound leg. So that's kind of what, I always think of this, doing this aerodynamics testing data in lieu of some very highly controlled conditions in an indoor velodrome. You do need to be careful about how many data points you have, how you're looking at it. And one way of, so I've got that. That in itself is sort of one thing. So how might I validate it? Well, what I like to use this, which is the virtual tool, the virtual elevation method, which for outdoor testing is the gold standard for aerodynamics testing. Let me cut it short for you. I've run it through the model here. The old, normal, UCI legal hands position comes out for me. I get a drag coefficient of around 0.25. It's always about that for me in that position. I have a lot, 20 plus races, good quality data. I know that my body shape, size, position, UCI legal hands position, always around about 0.25. And I think that's, without spending on some wildly fruity equipment, it's probably hard to get it much below that. Maybe 0.24, maybe 0.23. That's getting towards the limit of what I can do with a dude of my size. But let's have a look when you go UCI non-legal. You put the high hands up. What do you get? Look at this. About conservatively 0.2, potentially as low as 0.19. So as a percentage gain, that's quite big. And I realize I'm just sort of throwing out these numbers. Let's just consider, so we have I've got some I have actually tested this high hands position before and got the same sort of results in a velodrome. I don't have the data on me. We've got 2 data points for that, which isn't great. But it's looking good so far. And probably, let's be honest, well, why would the UCI ban it? Well, there you go. So if you want to know what that actually means in terms of on the road, so let's say about 0.19 versus about 0.25. Oh, well, I've got it here. Let's have a look. I'll just bring up a new window here. There's so this is another just online modeling tool you can use, gribble.org. And this is just another way of validating or trying to falsify hypothesis. My hypothesis is this is more aerodynamic. Let's define our terms, drag coefficient, and let's see, okay, I've got some data points from on the road. So I've got some data points from the fact that it actually feels faster, which sounds wildly subjective, but kind of isn't. I've got the chain analysis tool, and that's pretty good. So we've got another, just a modelling tool here. I'll turn it to metric. I'll add my weight in there, 79 kilos. Weight of the bike, it's about 7.7 kilos. This flat stuff, it's not that important. Kilo here or there won't matter. We'll change my drag coefficient to 0.5. What's this? 0.2. It's 0.28. I'm going to change it to about 0.27. 0.255. So I'm just, here we go. So, here. Right, 0.244. So if I make it so that in this model, we have the standard data entry for air density, rolling resistance, we've got all that. If we look at controlling for those factors, what difference that difference in drag makes, at 330 watts or so, old UCI legal hands at about 333 watts. I should be looking at, all those things being equal on a flat piece of road, about 43.8, 43.9 kilometers an hour, and that matches my experience on the road exactly. So let's change it. So we reduce the drag coefficient to what the models tell us, just caused by changing the hand position. Let's be super conservative, right? So instead of 0.19, I'm going to say 0.2. It's almost certainly better than that, but let's just be super conservative with this. Let's go back again to this model. Let's look at 333 watts or so. What does that give us? 300 and with about a watt, one watt less. Actually got 46.43. So around just under 3 kilometers per hour on average faster for the hand. So you can, without doing, the model of what that means in terms of time over a 40 ktt, well, you can imagine a lot of people cover a 40 ktt in about an hour. If we're talking about 3 kilometers an hour, the dude in the praying mantis position at the end of that is 3 kilometers up the road. Now, if you're covering a kilometer, just over a minute, let's just even say a minute, as if you're doing 60k an hour. You're not. Let's say you were, so being wildly conservative, that hand position is worth a minimum of probably 3 minutes over a 40 ktt, all other things being equal. So here's my point. I want to do some more work around this. I want to do some more work around, so getting some more data points for one. I think it's probably fairly obvious this position is much better because it's been banned. It does have the downside. I don't know if this is, when I wrote it, it did seem quite sort of a little bit more unstable, but that's probably just because I'm not that used to it. I don't think there's any reason particularly why it should be a lot more unstable. I think there's good reasons for why it should be very fast. So I'm going to work on that left hand position. Alright, I think that's it. So, oh yeah, just one thought I had, which was writing the TT yesterday, is you sort of have this, everyone knows the feeling of being around about their threshold power in a time trial and struggling with that sensation of the limit, not obviously don't want to push over the limit, where that limit is, and it's weird how you can feel it quite strongly, and I like to use this feeling, this analogy. It's how I put it in my mind when I'm at race power on the flat in position and I'm feeling it out. I like to feel like this idea of a piece of string. In my mind, I don't know if this will help you or not, or if you'll even be able to visualize what I mean, but kind of like imagine you have a piece of string and you're pulling one end. You've got one piece of the string in one hand and one piece of string in the other hand, and you're pulling it tight. Well, think about the effort you want to put out as being keeping that string taut, keeping it nice and taut. Your legs are on the limit. But if you pull harder, what happens to the string? The string will break, and you'll break. If you're the other way, you're not putting enough effort in, the string is, drooping down, and it's not taut. And that little visual in my mind, I'm probably one of these people that uses visuals in their mind more than other people, of having the string taut, not so taut that it breaks, not so weak that it loses it, it droops. It's sort of a good feeling for how you want to sometimes judge your effort. Now, I know you could say, well, Steve, just look at your power meter. And that's true, but when you're talking about the difference of 10 watts here or there on the day, and it's not like you can't really just sit there and watch your power meter, because it does fluctuate. Even if you think you're riding really consistently, there'll be some fluctuation of, maybe about 20 watts or something like that. And sometimes it's like this mental game of not letting that drift down. If you just stop watching your power and stop kind of paying attention to your job, you'll find your power just drifts down. But if you keep that mental image of your mind of the string and watch your power meter, as you use that in your mind, you should find you can stay in the mid to upper range of your power target. So for me, that was about, say, 330 to 340 watts yesterday. If I don't watch that and think of my string analogy, I'm just going to find that drifts down, 320, 310, sometimes 300, sometimes 290, and you don't kind of notice. The effort kind of feels the same. It all feels horrible. But if you use those techniques, that might help you keep your string taut. I mean, because it's a lot easier said than done to maintain that effort, because of course it hurts. But then having a simple mental image like this in TTing can really help you maintain, maintain. So that's what I'd say. So next race is the Wellington Masters Cycling Club. Has a crit opened on the weekend, and Trentham. I'd recommend you have a look at that if you haven't tried a crit before. Mellow vibes, getting good numbers this year, which is good. After that, the road race season really kicks off. Some club races, and then after that, versus the North Island Team Series, will begin. FitLab has its team entered, ready, full roster for all races. Probably about 20% stronger team than last year, if not even better. So I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I know what my job is. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to get it right 100% of the time, but at least I know what my job is. Congratulations to FitLab rider Helen Beattie for a great ride yesterday down the Winter World Series down south. Great rides for FitLab riders this weekend. John Grimwood, Mike Gregory, Steve Orchard at the TT. That was all really impressive. And watch out for Scott McDonnell, FitLab coach down in Christchurch. He's going to hit it pretty hard at the Timaru 2-day tour coming up in a week or two. Be afraid. Alright. As always, this is brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa and Capital Cycles View. Like a training plan from me. Email me, steve@fitlab.co.nz. Just go straight to the constantly upgraded website, fitlab.co.nz. Some new stuff on there. Check it out. As always. FitLab Tailwind. I'll see you on the weekend.